Hey, hello there. Welcome to Talking with Tony. It is my immense pleasure today to welcome back one of our football panel members, Kevin White. Kevin, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing just well. I just the same. Absolutely. It's a we film this on a Tuesday. It's always hard for the panel. I want the people who watch and listen to the show to know that they don't have until Friday to decide who they want. The shows are either on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So when we're talking football picks, Kevin, you know this as well as anybody. You have to make up your mind in about a 24-hour notice, sometimes 36, 48, who you like, and that can present a challenge in itself.
Absolutely. Last week, especially, there were some good games out there to try to pick from, and I found myself under the clock, on the clock there, trying to get the picks back to you, and I was just like, "Oh my Lord, I haven't studied this at all." So I felt like I was throwing darts at all of them. You know,
Well, there's a little bit of pressure on you because Danny Art was having a miserable season until this past weekend. He was about 8 games under 500, but I believe he came through with such a good week that he's sitting at 500 now. So you got some work cut out for you as far as like picking. And I want to review one of your picks from last week. It's not a great memory, but you of course love the Georgia Bulldogs, but you also love the Atlanta Falcons. You have all your life. The Falcons were coming off a very impressive win at Minnesota. And I understand that, it's two road games in a row. I understand, travel, you don't get as much rest as Dutty, but Carolina and be shut out by the Panthers. Can you have an explanation for me?
I have no explanation for it. I mean, I guess Arthur Blank has one. He fired the wide receivers coach, So I mean, I don't know if that was the total problem or not, but maybe it is the Mr. Blank.
In my experience, when coaches start firing other coaches, it means like that's the last line of defense. The coordinators are the final ones, and then once they're fired, then this is the head coach, themselves. So
Yeah, I
we
mean, you
have
look at the talent level on that team, on the Falcons across the board. They went out and they've drafted the people they needed to get, and to go in and just and lay an egg at Carolina. I mean, I was dumbfounded. It was my 5-star pick. They did so well the week before, but as I've told you before, they're going to let me down one more time.
However, you overall are doing better than you did last year, and you're not last in the panel. That those honors go to Stormy. And Stormy is trying to be your friend, your best bud this week. I don't give away too much before we start the pick of it. His 5 star is the Georgia Bulldogs -3. So he didn't say that was for you like you had done earlier in the year, saying, "Hey, this is for Stormy." But I get a feeling, he's he's trying to smooth over the UGA folks in the panel.
Well, I don't know about that. He's probably using that reverse psychology stuff. Um, I don't know if you know this or not, but Stormy and I's rivalry goes way back. It's the old Callaway Educational Association days on the
Some basketball,
basketball
yeah.
courts there. Stormy loved to flap those gums, buddy.
It's Ryder Cup week, Kevin, and there's always the rivalry between USA and Europe. But inside the team room, they're known to play ping pong, table tennis with each other, and that those are big rivalries. That was the thing out there in those CEC days in LaGrange, Georgia. Was that ever a rivalry for you and Stormy to play table tennis?
I don't know that Stormy and I ever played ping pong together. We may have hit the air hockey table there once or twice, but the majority of my memories were on the basketball court with him. You know,
Yeah, those were nice days, and especially I never took advantage of the swimming pool opportunities that were there. I did play some tennis out there and was in some tennis tournaments out there and did pretty well in them actually. And we all kind of helped contribute. Like if you weren't playing, you served as like linesman in another one. And even though it's hot these days, the heat didn't seem to bother me as much when I was 16 years old, 15 years old as it does now.
not at all, not at all. Today, you can walk outside and it's 85 degrees and you just start pouring sweat. When we were 14, 15, 16 years old, I could run that basketball court all day. No problem. And there was
Now,
no air conditioning in that gym.
No, no. Now, my latest release, That Winter Win, came
Mhm.
out a little less than a week ago. You've been a, big supporter of, there you go. There it is there. You've been a big supporter of the series, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you've enjoyed the series. Are you looking forward to part three of the installment here?
I am. I haven't even opened it yet. It's still crisp, right? So I just got it. You put it out there on social media on Tuesday that it was live, and I
Yeah.
immediately when I saw it went on Amazon and started searching, and it wasn't the easiest to find at
No.
that point.
It,
I
well,
hope it's gotten posted up there better now.
It's
Um,
the easiest to find if you put That Winter Win and you put Miles Fuller's name in there. The problem is there's other authors named AJ Jones, and one of them has a book that has winter in the title. And that is an issue. Whereas if you just get to your phone and start and you put in 6 weeks, chances are sooner than later that 6 weeks to summer book comes up pretty quick on Google.
mhm.
On even on Amazon, I'm going to need more and more hits, more and more sales of That Winter Win for it to beat that because that there's a winter book by an AJ Jones already, but it is pretty easy on the Amazon at Amazon.com if a reader puts in That Winter Win and puts in Miles Fuller because then all three books usually come up.
Yeah, I would suggest put you another post out there and tell people that because I mean I found it. I dug and found it, and I was surprised. I mean, on Thursday when I got home from work, it was there,
Yeah.
and um, so I dug through there and found it, and I'm excited. I'm
Well,
excited to get an opportunity between watching all my college football and stuff to get to where I can sit down because when I start reading, I don't stop. I just keep going.
you really have in those first two. You've told me you kind of like try to you get alone by yourself and try to get in the zone and finish that. And I just thank you for your faithfulness with the series and your positive comments. And there was a controversial ending at the end of the second one, Fall and Recover, and you were one of two people who didn't give me a hard time about it. You said you write the books the way you want to write the books, and I remember that.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I was a little shocked, a little sticker shocked by that ending too, and I'm eager to see how it progresses. But no, I mean, I think we talked about it, and you were talking about the sub series with the other character, and maybe portraying how it goes on and stuff like that, and wanting to cater to those people that were upset about that ending. And I was like, at the end of the day, it's your creative aspect. I mean, you got to go with your gut. You're writing the books, it's your idea. I mean, you can't please everybody, right?
Definitely not. I found out you do not please everybody. Where I missed the moment, I thought Miles would be the favorite character of everybody, and some people have deep bond with Stephanie. All right, let's talk some college football. It is such a incredible, immaculate schedule this coming Saturday for folks. And it begins for me with Notre Dame and Arkansas. I think this is a wonderful matchup 4 or 5 weeks into the season to have Notre Dame, a former independent, now ACC sort of independent in football, travel to a SEC school like Arkansas. Some people call it the Lou Holtz Bowl because Holtz coached at both spots. The Fighting Irish will be favored by 6. Your thoughts on this game?
I was torn with this pick. Bear with me just a sec here. I was looking back at the matchup last week with Arkansas and no, who did they play? And at Memphis, you were at that
Mm.
game, and
Yeah.
Memphis turned out to be a much better team than I thought. And I think the saving grace there for Memphis was their run game. I was surprised to see Arkansas struggle to stop them in the run game. So I was torn in this matchup where Notre Dame favored by 6 at Arkansas. I ultimately went with Arkansas, but I kind of feel I'm on the fence. I feel like Arkansas might be able to keep it closer than 6, but Notre Dame's probably going to win it just because of their strong run game. Those two backs that they've got and their quarterback, they all run very well.
And I'm going to go to Notre Dame -6 here, but I'm also going to Notre Dame from the standpoint of I think this is the rest of the year is sort of like after they lost to Northern Illinois last year. They're basically facing elimination week in and week out. That's my thought about the Fighting Irish. Some people believe they can't even, there's not a path for them now with two losses. But if you look at their two losses, they're by 4 or 5 points total. It's not by much. And then if you're going to lose football games in college football with a chance to make it to a playoff or a BCS or a national championship game, you've learned through the years, Kevin, you want to lose very early. You want to be on a win streak as the season's coming to a close.
Yeah, you want to be on everybody's mind and talked about towards the end. Yeah.
We talked about Stormy a little a few moments ago. Now his favorite football team, the Yellow Jackets. Now that's a fine football squad. They go to Wake Forest, take on former Auburn quarterback Robbie Ashford in Wake Forest. He played very well against NC State, but the defense did not. This Wake team doesn't look to be as strong as what we were accustomed to the last 5, 10 years from out of Wake Forest. Georgia Tech is 14.5 point favorites on the road. That's a lot of points, Kevin. Did they get it done?
This was one that was tough for me to pick as well. And yes, I went with Tech minus 14 and a half on the road. Just I feel like that they've played in some tougher ball games thus far. And when you look up stats for both teams, the run game, the quarterback ratings, and all of that, is on paper, Tech just looks like a much better team. You know,
So his selection is the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets minus 14.5. Georgia Tech, Tennessee knows how they feel. Georgia Tech was a team that should have beat Georgia last year in Athens. Tennessee should have beat Georgia this year at Neyland Stadium. They didn't get it done. I can't wait to discuss the Georgia Alabama game with you, but that's a little bit later on in the show. First, or we'll wrap up the noon Eastern slate with a game in Champaign, Illinois. Southern California Trojans favored by 7 in this, I can't even say it, this Big Ten matchup at Illinois. You know how I hate it, but can't stand the fact that schools like SC and Washington and UCLA and such are in the Big Ten now. But that's what we have. So we have the Southern Cal and Illinois matchup, and Illinois is coming off being just totally throttled at Indiana. Do they rebound against the Trojans?
I don't know if they do. I don't know if they do. I think they got a lot going for them, and the fact that it's going to be 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff, okay, and Southern Cal having to travel to them. That's 9 o'clock Pacific time, right? That's an early morning game for Southern Cal, you know. So,
Mhm.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing everywhere that Illinois got the advantage, you know, and I just think the actual athletes on the field, I think they're just outmanned. Southern Cal is going to take this game. You know,
I wondered about SC's special teams when they lost Branch to Georgia. He's such a potent kickoff and punt returner, but I've watched them a couple of times, and they still got plenty of people at the skill positions. I actually watched the Southern California and Michigan State game this past Saturday night. Michigan State played pretty well and still got hammered by 14 points. They scored a 75 yard touchdown with a former Auburn receiver, Amari Kelly late, but Michigan State was in the game at late in the third. It was like a touchdown difference between before SC pulled up by 21. But SC has a lot of offense. They really do. I'm not going to go with this game. I'm going to wait till the following game, which is UCLA and Northwestern, with Northwestern favored by 7 at home. And everybody knows from watching this show, I like that old school Bruin Bear be put up on my picks. UCLA is not a good football team. Plus 7 against Northwestern. But a couple of us, names that we've already mentioned, have gone with the Bruins and add me to the list. Yeah, I see that you've got UCLA and Stormy has UCLA. Tell me your decision to land on UCLA plus 7 at Northwestern.
there again, I was digging through stat lines, right, and I'm looking at QBR rating for Northwestern. I forgot his name for the quarterback, and it's down. That's a low number, you know, and I mean, yes, I picked UCLA earlier in the season too, and they burned me, you know, and they don't look good at all, even with former Tennessee quarterback. I mean, I think his mind's on the money, not on the game. But at the end of the day, I don't know. There was just something about it. I just had to go with my gut here, and felt like that UCLA might take the edge even on the road, you know.
What's your thought process about teams firing their coach, not even halfway into the season, but 2 or 3 games into the season? Such was the case with Foster at UCLA. Does the team benefit, or does it just continue to spiral downhill?
Sometimes, I mean, it's a give and take. That's a 50-50, you know. I mean, we've seen it in history when it's happened that they get a spark from that interim head coach and they go on and they get fired up and they go play for the guy, and then others it just goes downward, downward, downward spiral through the season, and then they make adjustments in the off season and try to turn the program back around. But in this instance, I'm hoping for the first, is that they rally behind the interim head coach and go out there and get excited to go play, you know.
Uh, when Clemson removed Bowden, who is a family friend of ours and a guy that I've done Bible study with in Auburn, Alabama for 19 years, he and Tommy initially started that Bible study, and Rick is still a part of it and close. And they gave Dabo, the deal in the middle of the year, and he brought some enthusiasm. He had some success. It wasn't, but then after that, of course, the couple of national championships. I have to get your thoughts on like if they can hire Dabo midseason, they could fire Dabo midseason as well, correct?
Well, yeah, for sure. I hope they don't. I mean, I like Dabo, even though he's Alabama background, alma mater, all that stuff. I mean, you got to respect the guy. He's a good Christian guy. He's trying to do things the right way. Um, I do see the other side of the coin too, that he was kind of resistant to the portal and all of that stuff to begin with. But it's the new way of college football, and you either got to get on board or get left behind. So I hope they don't, because he's been quite successful at Clemson. And the past 2 seasons not as good as he wants, and this one's starting out this year. Last year not as good as he wanted. He won the ACC, but then I felt like he kind of lucked into it. You know,
Uh-huh. That
um,
Miami loss to Syracuse
yeah,
was pivotal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of felt like he backdoored his way in there, and then it showed when it came playoff time. And then to begin this season, uh, it's tough. It's tough as a fan. It's tough for the staff and everybody. But I think he explained it quite well in one of his interviews. It's like he gives Clemson everything he's got. Good, bad, or indifferent. He's giving it everything he's got. Um, I just hope they don't get rid of him. Because my worst fear is that they fire DeBoer and he goes to Alabama.
Well, and that's a possibility, but I think there's also right now a $74 million payout to go to DeBoer. I mean, somebody at UAT did not learn lessons from the disastrous Harsin hire at Auburn, bringing in a guy from that side of the country, doesn't have a relationship with coaches in the state of Georgia and coaches in the state of Alabama and has a high buyout. Alabama does the same thing. It brings in DeBoer, who we have still got to give him some time to figure out, I mean, he could very well beat UGA this weekend and everybody would be all that talk would be quiet. But I think as long as Clemson is having their struggles, there's going to be that talk, that possibility about Dabo ending up at Alabama. Now, I've got some Alabama friends who are power people of Tuscaloosa and they say, we don't want Dabo. I said, well, who do you want? He goes, we want Saban. I said, well, Saban's not coming back.
That's
They
right.
still have this.
That's
NIL
right.
has took Saban out of the game. Now
Yeah.
everybody's paying their team. So
I'm surprised they
forget
didn't say bring back Bear. You know.
Yeah, they're gonna have to find another somebody if they get rid of DeBoer. But like we said, we have to be fair to DeBoer and
Well, and
give
that's the
him.
other way to look at it too. Is like there's a ton of assistant coaches out there that would make possibly good head coaches. But as far as proven head coaches on the field, who do you get if you fire Dabo or DeBoer? Who do you have? Who do you have to go after? I mean, there's not like a superstar Saban out there. You know,
We think the guy here in Memphis is going to get an opportunity real soon in a Power Four. I'm not saying he's the answer or something like that, but we can. If I were people, I'd be looking over to Nashville, Tennessee. If you can win with Vanderbilt, and you can
Oh
win
yeah.
anywhere.
I don't
So
think that guy. He's at his alma mater. He loves that place. I mean, they're gonna have to run him out the door. You know. I
yeah,
mean, I
I
don't think
mean,
he's going anywhere.
okay. All right. Fair enough. So you're with me on the Bruins, UCLA +7. LSU is at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is favored by 2.5. This is such a big game early in the season. I know it's early in the season, but this is such a huge game for Ole Miss. I really feel like I said this before the college football season started. If Ole Miss wins this football game, I think they're in the SEC championship game, and I think they're in the college football playoff because their schedule is as easy as you can have in the SEC. They could lose to Georgia 47-7 and still make Atlanta, but they're going to have to win this football game against a team some believe it should be number one in the country. Certainly, they're so physical. The LSU Florida game was so physical. The LSU Clemson game matched that physicality. LSU's defense is really, really, really good. This would be very entertaining because what do we know from Ole Miss? We know they're known for a high-powered offense and they give up a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to let you choose it. I don't have a pick here.
This one, when you first sent this to me and I was looking over the picks, I was like in shock that Ole Miss was favored by 2.5. It's not a huge number, but still, I was like, really? That Vegas and everybody's got them favored? I was like, oh, it's got to be because they're at home. That's the only reason
Yeah, I
I.
mean, just ask UGA from last year about that.
No, right. I mean, it's one of those things that yes, Kiffin he's going to light it up. They're going to take the deep shots. They're gonna run and gun as much as they can. I just feel like that Chip Kelly and LSU, he's really, really turned this defense around. The past two seasons, they haven't equated to what he expected. You know, this year so far, they've looked really, really good on defense. I mean, like Georgia defense from the national championship back to back years. I mean, they look that good. As one of the top defenses in the country. And at the end of the day, if Ole Miss finds themselves behind a couple of scores, I don't think their style offense allows them to come back.
Mm.
They have the ability with those deep threats and stuff like that, but it's one of those things. I don't think that Kiffin likes to manage the clock like some other coaches do. And so you give LSU several more possessions, and then they're going to run away from you. And I
And
think
not
the
only do you
defense.
like it, but it's your 5 star.
It is. I'm taking LSU on the road against Ole Miss. It might bite me, but I'm leaning on that defense wins ball games.
Will say this, that you are the only member of the panel that is under 500 in the 5 stars, being 1 and 3.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying take my 5 star to the betting booth, but that's just how I feel.
Fair enough. Auburn has to rebound from a disappointing loss against Oklahoma, and I say that because they were certainly in position to win, unlike the referee who couldn't get in position to see Cam Coleman being interfered in the end zone. There was the touchdown on the deception play that the SEC and the NCAA have both made statements on, saying that that shouldn't have counted. But maybe I was more frustrated than any of them was the defensive touchdown by Auburn that on video review they took away. I would have understood if it would have been called a favorably for Oklahoma and the review wouldn't have overtook, but I was stunned when replay removed that. Your thoughts there?
I mean, it was just a poor officiating performance all around in that game. I mean, there's stuff I know we get biased and we look at it from one angle. You being Auburn guy, you know. Yes, I agree with those your qualms with those calls 100%. When that first the trick play that should have resulted in a 15-yard penalty, they let that go by. And then the pass interference call, non-call. And I mean, you look at it; he's basically tackling. How do you just turn your head on that? I get it, but there was bad calls on both sides of the ball, which there is in just about every ball game. Um, I agree with you. I mean, I do agree that I felt like Auburn should have came out on top in that game had those calls been made.
And they were
Um,
still covering the spread into the late safety, which cost
right.
me a pick. And so that was not good because I
Well,
had Auburn. And just like today, Auburn and Aggies. I'm going with Auburn again. I'm mentally hope that they're tough. I don't know if they are or not. I'm the only one at plus 6.5. You've got the Aggies, so you either really believe in A&M or don't think, or either don't think Auburn can play as well as they played last week. And that's hard for me to say that they played well when they give up 10 sacks.
well, and that's what I looked at. I watched that game probably closer than any of the rest going on that at that time. I was flipping around a little bit back into just to see what was going on, but I watched that one pretty intently. And truth be told, I couldn't tell. I was hard pressed to tell whether the two defenses were playing that well or if both offenses were just really struggling. You know, um, until later in the game, and then they got help from the referees, right? So, my thoughts on it is, I mean, I think Auburn will play a really good game. I think the difference, especially at A&M, the home of the 12th man, it's a loud environment. It's tough, and so I want Auburn to do well. That's Georgia's oldest rivalry. It's we want Auburn to be good always. Unlike Florida, I could care less if they ever win again. But um, I want them to do well. But I have to go with the home team on this one. I picked quite a few road teams on this lineup here, so I'm going with the home team and the 12th man and A&M. You know.
Fair enough. Aggies favored by 6.5, and that is Kevin's pick. The defending national champs are 8.5 point favorites at Washington. I have a pick here, and it's going to be a pick that is not very favorable in the with everybody else because I'm opposite. I'm going with the home team plus 8.5. I'm a big enough Ohio State fan that I remember Ohio State going to Washington in 1994 with a really, really good football team. They played in the 3:30 slot. I believe that one was on CBS also. And Washington beat Ohio State pretty comfortably, probably by about 20 points. Now, you can say that's 29 years ago. That's not relevant to anything that happens here. I know that that's still not an easy place to win football games. I'm not saying that Washington will win. I think they have an opportunity though. I mean, this is basically the Arizona team from 2 years ago, plus additional people that went with that Ara Jed Fish over to Washington, his elite players, and then about five more transferred this past year from Arizona to Washington, plus this recruiting that he's brought in. It's a big game for them. I think it's going to be the crowd will be a factor for them, and I think it'll be a tight contest. Hopefully, the Buckeyes come out on top. You, though, like everybody else on the panel, like the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I think back to the first show of the season here. There you go, where you were reluctant to give your annual national champion pick, right? And you felt like the Buckeyes weren't the team this year. You were
Correct.
leaning more towards the Nittany Lions. They're one of their big rivals, right?
Yes.
But you weren't going to make a definitive pick. In my viewpoint, from what I've seen of the Buckeyes thus far, they might be one, maybe two teams in the country that look like a complete football team to me right now. I mean, I think they're going to be hard to beat. It. I think the only team that going forward, it just depends on the spread there. Again, the only team that I would pick against them at this point possibly would be Penn State. You
Mhm.
know, um, they're going to be tough to beat. They look really, really good to me.
Yeah,
You
I've
know,
said for 2 years, I think the three best wide receivers in football were T Mac, who of Arizona, who is in the NFL now doing big things for the Carolina Panthers, Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State, and I have Cam Coleman at Auburn. Now, Ryan Williams was a phenom in the first like 5 games of his freshman year, and Bama's going to need that, soon again. Jeremiah Smith, I think, has been the best player, the Ohio State freshman wide receiver last year. This year, he's a sophomore. They got to get him touches, though. Like Auburn has to give Cam Coleman touches. Jeremiah Smith has got to touch the football for Ohio State to be effective. And let's see if this Julian Sayin, the transfer from Alabama, he came in last year after Saban had retired. Let's see how he performs in a hostile crowd. There's will be some pressure on him. So. But I think that's the key is like utilizing all the tight ends that they have. Probably not going to see Bo Jackson, the Lexington freshman running back, because he's third on the depth chart. But I want to see them utilize the tight ends, especially Max, the transfer from Purdue. But get the hand ball to the hands of number four.
I agree with you. I agree with you, and it's tough. I mean, same with Ryan Williams. He's had a couple of breakout receptions this year. And Smith has had a couple as well. But I look at it from the standpoint, and I said this prior to the season starting. Those two guys, as great as they are, I'm not discounting their abilities. But when you take Egbuka off the field, is now in the NFL, right? He took a lot of defenders away from Smith, right? That allowed him to get much more open than he would.
For sure.
Same at Alabama, the receivers that left and took pressure off of Williams. So now that those two guys are the top targets, they're getting a lot more of that pressure. And so it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I'm not saying they can't do it, and they should get more targets at least, but it just makes it a lot tougher on that quarterback, you know?
We've only got 4 minutes left and we have five plays. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give the NFL plays right now. There's a Thursday night game between the Seahawks and the Cardinals, with the Cardinals favored by one. Kevin likes one, the Cardinals -1. So do I. Our beloved Falcons are at home against Washington. We still call them the Redskins here. Kevin's going to go with the Redskins -2.5. I'm going to take the Falcons +2.5, and I'm the only person, host or panel, that has the Falcons. Everybody else does have Washington. And then the Packers are favored by 6 over the Cowboys in the Sunday night game. And that's a little bit more mixed with Stormy, the only person to take the Cowboys. Kevin goes with the Packers -6. I want to get to these two college games before we go off the air. The last thing that we'll do is Jake will put up everybody's picks and we'll roll everybody's picks at the end of the show so you can see them so we can talk for the full 3 minutes now here, Kevin. Let's do Oregon and Penn State first at Happy Valley, with Penn State favored by 3.5. You seem like you're high on the Nittany Lions regarding what you said earlier.
I do. I think their rush attack, their defense, quarterback play, all around, they're another one of those complete looking football teams at home. I think it's gonna be a tough thing for Dan Lanning and the Ducks to get done. And at 3.5, that's not too terribly far apart. I think Penn State can handle that. Um, I'd love. It's game day is going to be there. I want to see a really good game there, but that's at the same time as my dog, so I'll be kind of flipping back, just checking on it.
I'm with you. I've got Penn State -3.5. There are two members of the panel who took Oregon. That's Danny and John, and that is John's 5-star with Oregon. Fred's 5-star, by the way, was the Washington Redskins. Stormy's 5-star is the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia is favored by 3 at home against Alabama. Danny's 5-star is the Georgia Bulldogs. I went with Penn State. I do want to go back and say that I went with you with the Nittany Lions. I have no pick in this game. I'm just going to turn it over to you here to tell me about how the Bulldogs get it done.
Another miracle late, another miracle. We've got a great kicker, so I expect him to kick that field goal late and put us ahead. It's always a battle with the Tide. They beat us by a touchdown late last year, at their house. I expect to see a very similar ball game this year. They've become our nemesis. We haven't beat them very often in the past 10 years.
You beat them once when it really, really mattered, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was what, 33-18, right?
Uh-huh. I
So
think a key, if I can tell you, I think a key is getting Branch more involved with the offense from Georgia. He's been relatively quiet, according to, if you look at what my expectations were for him. I think he can be a difference maker for Georgia.
yeah, I mean, we got to get our offensive line play. They got to win the line of scrimmage. They've struggled a little bit here and there, and get that run game going, and then get those tight ends, Lucky and Delp, involved. They've even after Bowers left, having that tight end play, has helped the dogs a lot, and so I think we get them more involved in the game too. That opens up the run game and opens up the downfield stuff, you know, because Bama's definitely going to take their shot to Williams.
I have no pick in the game, but the entire panel, all five members, take the Bulldogs -3. That might
Man,
worry me if I was a Georgia
that
fan.
scares me. That scares me.
Kevin, we're up against the time. I really appreciate you doing the show, though. As always, I've had a great time with you. We'll have you back here at football season or at least once, maybe two more times. That sounds good to you.
That sounds great to me. It's always fun.
For Kevin White, for Jake Parton, I'm Tony Jones. We'll see you next time right here on Talking with Tony. Everybody, enjoy the football this weekend.